Oh, yeah.
Hello, one and all, and welcome to the Ted Alexandro Show. Here we are, friends, wrapping up this year of 2020. We're in the home stretch, if you believe in time. I'm on the fence. But nevertheless, it is December, and we will welcome another year, I think, in ways that we have never before once we get to 2021. But let's not count our chickens. Let's just be in the moment, live in the now, friends. That is where we exist on the Ted Alexandro Show. Please do take a moment in the now to subscribe, ring that notifications bell, like the video, share it with friends and family. Or at least family. It's a family show at its heart. I am excited, friends. We have a very big one today. My pal, a guy I've known a long time, a man who's killing it. He's on fire. He is the host of the Jimmy Dore Show. He is Jimmy Dore. He will be joining us in just a bit. And can't wait to jump into everything with Jimmy. And we will. Just briefly, I want to touch on last episode. It seemed to ruffle some feathers. Hey, it's got to happen sometimes. Not my intention. You know I'm not one to unnecessarily stir the pot. But when the pot needs stirring, I will gladly grab a ladle if one is handy. So I did a video about Dave Chappelle's Unforgiven. Discussed a few qualms I had with the things Dave talked about. Made it clear, I thought, that I also hold him in high regard as a comedian, as an artist, and felt it necessary to say something because of the nature of some of the things he was talking about, the timing of some of the things he was talking about. It's all there in the last video, friends. I don't have to rehash that for you. Go back and watch it if you have not yet. But I think I made it clear that I was coming from a place of a fan, a colleague, someone who has watched him work for 20 years up close since I started in 92. But when there are things being said that I have issue with, I have no problem saying that. I come in peace, I come in love always. But sometimes love gets in your face a little bit and says, let's talk. Here's some problems, some issues I have. Now, was I aware that that was going to ruffle some feathers? Did I realize that the bro army, their numbers are legion, did I know that the bro army would be unleashed on me in the comments? Did I know how protective they were of Dave Chappelle? Now, of course I did, because there is no more loyal fan base than the bro army. A fan base that has eluded me from the start. By design. We're on opposite ends of a lot of things, and that's fine. Now, Dave obviously is at the level that he is not just, his fan base crosses the spectrum. He's not just the bro army, but they come out in force if they feel that one of their own has been attacked. And it is funny because they are very often the free speech advocates. Say anything goes. But whoa, don't talk, how dare you? Whoa, how dare you talk about one of our own? they get rankled. They get rankled. So a lot of pushback from the bro army, the bros who did not agree with my assessment. Curiously, they talked about everything except the main thrust of it, which I talked about at the end, which was talking about the Me Too bitches and also the timing of this kind of self-serving plea that frames him as a victim during a pandemic. Those were the two criticisms that I offered, and conveniently, the bros pretty much sidestepped both of those. Conveniently. The whole purpose of the video was to talk about that, the tone-deaf nature of calling them the Me Too bitches, and as I say, the bros, come at me. Hey, I'm here. I come in peace, I come in love, but I will come at you. No problem doing that. And it is funny when they, some of these bros, they know like 5 comedians. So they don't know me, and that's fine. That's not something that bothers me. But it is funny when I get those same 3 comments about Tom Segura or Brody Stevens. Great comedians both, but maybe you guys should know more than 3 comedians. Been doing it since 92. I assume you have Google. But as I say, that's not for me. You can go on your own journey. But it is funny when you get those same 3 comments, the Tom Segura comments. Bring them on, bros. Compare. But I encourage you to read them first and see what's already been said. Brody Stevens, may he rest in peace. I knew the guy well. We started in New York City around the same time. Did an episode when he passed, paying tribute to Brody Stevens. So I love Tom. I love Brody. It's not about that. It's about the bros pulling out their tired bag of tricks, and also not getting the point. More importantly, not getting the point. Fellas, you got to grow up a little, and you also, dare I say, need to open up your mind and your heart to criticism of your heroes, and also you have to open up your mind and heart and realize that women are human beings. They're not to be treated as punchlines. Their trauma is not to be treated as a laugh line. So bros, hey, like I said, however you found the podcast, welcome. I don't know for sure whether or not you'll be along for the ride, but if you are welcome. As I said, I come in peace, but sometimes that peace will smack things around a little bit, metaphorically speaking, if need be. So that was fun. It was a fun ride. Look, as I said to producer extraordinaire Matthew L. Weiss, and to my wife, executive producer extraordinaire Madeline Geraldine, I was torn whether or not to even put the video out, I was torn. But I did feel as though these were things that were on my mind, and repeatedly so, as I watched a few of Dave's specials, and he's at such a high level that nobody talks about him, really. Nobody wants to discuss the king. So I felt, after discussing it with the inner circle, that maybe there was some merit. And sure enough, the bros were rankled, so that's all the affirmation I need. If you know me, you know that I love comedy, I love comedians, I love humanity. That's why I do this show from an undisclosed location in the Northeast. It's not for my own amusement or bemusement, though I was bemused by the brigade. Marching in my direction. Doesn't bother me. I'm not canceling you. As I said, I'm welcoming you. The bro army is, they generally come in peace, but their war is much like the United States of America. The bro army's war is never ending. They are well funded, and they will continue to come at you, and I welcome it. Just be a little more creative in your comments. That's my main question, my main suggestion to you. And the other suggestion would be to listen to the actual content of what is being offered in the critique. Take it into your heart, and maybe consider growing up a little bit. This is a grown man podcast, a grown human being podcast. I identify as a grown man. That's subject to change, mind you, but that's where we stand now. So just wanted to touch on that a little bit. An amusing week of I don't dwell in the comments. I scroll and I'm out because I don't care. So that was fun. What's going on in the world? There's a lot going on, and our special guest today coming up in just a bit, Jimmy Dore, probably knows more about it than most, certainly than I. I like to get a sense of what's going on. I know the cabinet of the Biden administration is being formed, and it ain't pretty. I know the name Neera Tanden has been thrown into the ring, and hopefully will be unceremoniously thrown out of the ring. As I know she was the number one hater that had the Bernie Sanders campaign in her crosshairs from the start, and is, for all intents and purposes, more or less just a neoliberal think tank operative who is center-right, and center is being kind. So I know she's the latest name that has popped up in the political fray. Can you be surprised at all? We were not expecting. I made my expectations of a Biden-Harris ticket clear. Simply that it would vanquish Trump and his daily, round-the-clock presence. And it has largely done that, obviously, except for the lawsuits and the whatever the hell else is going on. But I've been able to detach from that, which is what I wanted. But the U.S., the war machine, the global empire will roll along, right? Obama has been on his book tour, popping up on a verklempt Stephen Colbert or a chuckling Jimmy Kimmel. So this is what it is. It's all entertainment, is it not? It's all content. And they leave and they cash in. So Obama's writing a book, 700-page tome about his time as the murderer-in-chief, as I say in my special Senior Class of Earth, available free on YouTube. So, friends, the machine, no doubt, will roll along, whoever is at the helm, and now it appears it will be Biden-Harris. As I said throughout the election, that is not what we were voting for. We're not voting for world peace. We're not voting for people's basic human needs to be taken care of. We're not voting for the end of global empire. We're not voting for even a Green New Deal. Biden made all those things clear. So, when there's so little on the table, you either don't come to the table or you come up with very limited expectations, which is what I did. So I'm excited to delve into all of that with Jimmy Dore because I know he's got opinions. He's got thoughts on these things, it seems. So it will be fun to reconnect with my friend Jimmy Dore and to see where he stands, where he's at, and what he thinks. As always, friends, again, please do hit the subscribe button, ring the notifications bell if you wish to support the Ted Alexandro Show, as so many have, and we thank you, friends. You can go to patreon.com/Ted Alexandro, and lots of exciting bonus content there, extra clips. There will be extra clips from the show coming up that are only going to live on Patreon. There are extra stand-up clips that are there. And, of course, the Ted Alexandro Comedy Academy, taught by yours truly. 6 classes so far. Another one coming before Christmas, probably next week. That will be the 7th lesson, the 7th class. And it is ongoing. So if you are in comedy, if you're in the arts, or if you're comedy curious, as so many are, go to patreon.com/Ted Alexandro and check out the Ted Alexandro Comedy Academy. All the classes are available on Patreon. All right, friends, very excited to bring on our very special guest today. This is a man that, if you pay attention to politics, and I'm talking about the real stuff, not the Chuck Todds of the world. I'm talking about the real stuff. Independent, progressive journalism, which can only be found where? On the web, usually. Grassroots. And this man is at the heart of it. Let's welcome to the Ted Alexandro Show, my friend, Jimmy Dore. Jimmy.
Hey, Ted, how are you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm surprised. Steph, is that just is that a hologram or is that actually Steph?
Glad to see you. I do.
So good to see you.
Great to see you, Ted. How's your baby?
Oh, he's great. He'll be a year on Christmas Day.
Oh my God.
How about that?
Wow, I didn't know it was the Christmas Day. Wow.
He might be our God. Who knows? Who knows, right? There's a track
Yeah.
There's a track record.
Great to see you, buddy.
Great to see you too. Love great work you guys are doing.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that's the last I'll speak of that.
Okay.
Okay.
You better watch where you say that. It'll get you
I know.
a bad reputation.
You have been a busy man, and is it kind of a mixed bag for you? I mean, you know what you're doing, and you know what the product is. So it's got to be this kind of, in a certain sense, this mixed thing of like, Jesus, this is all so fucked, but hey, great. This is somebody's got to talk about it, and nobody's doing it better than you, my friend.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that, and I'll take the compliment. And but a lot of my friends in comedy, I've had several Comedy Central specials, been on all the shows and everything, and I never sold tickets.
You and
like
me both.
Like 99.9% of comedians, right? It doesn't, if you would get on David Letterman, you could sell tickets that week.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then all of a sudden I started selling out theaters and stuff. And my comedy friends are like, Jimmy, what the hell are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm doing this YouTube show where I talk about the news. And they're like, and we already have news. I go, yeah, but the news doesn't talk about the news. I said, that's the problem. It's not used to, manufacturing consent. Their primary focus is to forward the ideas of the oligarchs and make it palatable to us. That's what their primary function is.
Now, was this around the time of Occupy Wall Street, or did it predate?
No, so I started I started doing my own daily YouTube show in December 2015. So I had
Young Turks that was coming.
Yeah, so I had been working with the Young Turks. I was doing a weekly show for them.
Yep.
And then I was doing 2 weekly shows for them, and then and one of them was behind a paywall, and then I just decided, well, hey, I'll just do this, myself. Because we started to diverge paths, kind of uh, ideologically, like they went with the Russiagate narrative, and that became uh, the sole purpose of my show for a while, was to debunk that.
Mm-hmm.
And it really was tough for me at that show because I went into the Trump presidency saying that the silver lining of this horrible guy will be that people will now be aware of the horrible stuff that our government has been doing all along. But because Barack Obama is so goddamn charming, and so was Bill Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know this, right? And the media is bought by the same people who bought Barack Obama and Bill Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, so I thought that, but then I could not predict that they would do 3-year McCarthy smearing, red baiting garbage, evidence-free conspiracy theories at the top of their lungs about and red baiting every one of their enemies and blaming Russia for all our problems. The reason why we got Donald Trump isn't because of Russia. The reason why we got Donald Trump is because the Democratic Party no longer represents workers or anybody that is in Wall Street. They became the party of the white upper class suburbanites. But there already was a party for those people. It was called the Republican Party. So consequently, the Republican, I'm old enough to remember when the Republican Party wasn't crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're so fucking to the far right because every time the Democrats move to the right, the Republicans have to move further right.
Sure. And that's why people are so nostalgic now about George W. Bush and kind of paint his legacy and him personally in a different light, right? That he's kind of like this cozy
Yes.
figure now because things have shifted.
My point was, and I was making it too long, was that the Democrats, of course, the left missed an opportunity to oppose Trump on substance because they didn't oppose him on substance. Ted, Nancy Pelosi passed his entire legislative agenda, including giving him money for the frickin' border wall. So right now, I'm trying to get people. My big thing is, the left doesn't know how to get power and it doesn't know how to use power. Well, they have a little bit of power right now because Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats are so horrible. They lost House seats in the House during a Trump presidency. So right now they have to vote for Nancy Pelosi to become speaker when they convene in January. And there's like now 7 or 8 members of the squad. Well, the Democrats only have somewhere around a 13, 14, 15 seat majority now. So if they can get, there's 100 members of the Progressive Caucus in the Congress. If they can just get 15 of them to say, Nancy Pelosi, we're not going to vote for you as speaker unless you promise in writing and on video to bring Medicare for all up for a vote, which is something that 9 out of 10 Democrats want. Then we're going to withhold our vote from you and you're going to risk your speakership and Kevin McCarthy might become speaker. And if you want to risk that, we're willing to play chicken because Medicare for all is something 9 out of 10 Democrats want. And if you're not going to give it to us, we'll take our chance with Kevin McCarthy not giving it to us. So it's up to you. And that's what I'm urging them to do right now. And a lot of people, by the way, even some of my detractors are giving me credit for or giving credit to this idea.
Right.
And so I'm asking everybody who has any influence on any kind of politician, your favorite progressive politician, now is the time to pressure them, not defend them. Now they actually have leverage, and now it's for them to use it.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy, I give you credit because I see that as an optimistic act on your part and on the take. And really, what choice do we have, right? But would you agree that for any of the aforementioned people to do that, the squad, whomever it is, it's career suicide for them, right? They're not built. What
are you talking about?
They're not built to represent people.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree. They're not built to represent people. They're there because they're careerists.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So this is our only. Well, I've been saying that it's a fool's errand since 2016. I wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton, because I just won't vote for corporatist warmongers anymore. I just won't do it. And at some point, as Lawrence O'Donnell, people, I don't know if you saw that clip that made the rounds a couple of months ago with Lawrence O'Donnell saying, you're never going to get the Democratic Party to move left until you withhold your vote from them. He goes, I worked inside the Democratic Party for decades. We never listened to the progressives. We never listened to the left because we know we had their votes. They got nowhere else to go. And you'll never get us to listen to you until you withhold their vote, which is what I started doing with Hillary Clinton. And so so what is my fucking point? Now I lost my train of thought.
We were talking
goddamn
about the careerists and whether or not
Oh, so
it's
I've been saying that it's a fool's errand to so even though I ideologically agree with people like AOC, Rashid Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Rokan, and now Jamal Bowman and Corey Bush, who I had Corey Bush on and AOC. My show was the first to have AOC on. My show was the first to have Corey Bush on. So it's not like I don't agree with these people ideologically. I do. But my thing is, I think it actually does more damage to have those people inside the Democratic Party because it gives people the bad idea that the Democrats are an opposition party, and they're not. The people like Nancy Pelosi hate progressives more than Republicans do, and they don't even realize that. So the only way you can get influence, that's why I think if there was a third, my whole thing was we need to have a third party. They go, well, the third party will never win. I'm like, well, we'll never know. Taking over the Democratic Party isn't happening. We've been doing the same thing over for 40 years. And people think that they're voting for the lesser of two evil. And there's a strong case to be made that Bill Clinton was not the lesser of two evil, and neither was Barack Obama. I will challenge anybody again, say that Barack Obama, do you really think they would have let John McCain make the banks bigger as he took us from 2 wars to 7 and kicked 5 million people out of their house and then also opened the Arctic to drilling twice and then deported more Hispanics than Donald Trump did and then also used the Espionage Act against journalists and tortured? Do you think they would have let John McCain do that stuff without a fight? They would not have, but they let Barack Obama do all of it.
Well, don't you think, Jimmy, that it's this bizarre climate where the things that you're saying are actually almost like, in a certain sense, people assume that you're like that you're circling back around, like you might as well be right. I mean, right in terms of ideologically, because you're critiquing. You're critiquing the left the way the right would, and it is and I've been in the same position where
no, Ted, I'm critiquing the left from the left. The people who were attacking Donald Trump for the last 4 years were attacking him from the right. They were red baiting him. They wanted him to be more bellicose with a nuclear power. They wanted him to bomb more in Syria. They wanted him to go into that's attacking Donald Trump from the right. I'm attacking the Democrats from the left. I'm telling them to do things for the people instead of what they're actually doing. The CARES Act was its largest transfer of wealth in the history of the human race, and every progressive voted for it, including Bernie Sanders. And what did we get for that largest transfer of wealth? We got crumbs, and I didn't say that. AOC said that. The difference is AOC pretended that was the Republicans who did that instead of Nancy Pelosi who did that, and they all voted for it. And when they also voted for the extension of the fucking Patriot Act, the surveillance state under Donald goddamn Trump, Norman Solomon wrote a column in The Nation and said, what the fuck is the point of voting for the progressives if they're going to go ahead and vote for the surveillance state anyway? And I say there isn't a point. And what is the point of voting for progressives if they're going to vote for the largest upward transfer of wealth in the history of the fucking human race without getting anything for it? The answer is there is no point. Well, there's a chance right now for them to make up for that. They can get Nancy Pelosi to bring up Medicare for all for a vote. And if they don't do that, then my premise of the last 5 years is proven that it is a fool's errand to vote for progressives inside the Democratic Party, because every year we get worse and worse and worse. And so we've got to find another strategy. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I'm old enough to remember this is a 40-year project. All right. This didn't just start 4 years ago. They've been trying to take over the Democratic Party for 40 fucking years.
Well, and I think when you look at, as you said, the quote unquote progressive, or at least Democratic, let's be more clear, candidates or presidents who have been in office, they have orchestrated some of the worst things, the worst transfers of wealth. Clinton, obviously, with the group with Citigroup, right? That he kind of what was it that he did away with that then kind of
Bill Clinton
facilitated the boom and bust. Why am I blanking?
Bill Clinton deregulated Wall Street, right? They got rid of Glass-Steagall Act, the big one. And but Bill Clinton did a lot of things. He passed the NAFTA, which took the legs out from underneath unions in the United States. And the reason why he was not the lesser of two evils, because George Herbert Walker Bush, who he beat in the election, he couldn't pass NAFTA. And the reason why he couldn't do that was because the Blue Dog Democrats couldn't go against the unions. Well, then Bill Clinton got elected and he gave them cover to do that. So then he passes NAFTA, cuts the legs out from underneath the unions. At the same time, he explodes the prison population and guts welfare, then deregulates Wall Street, which crashes the economy within 10 years. That is shit they would not have let Bob fucking Dole do. And by the way, he had a secret deal to privatize Social Security. And the reason why that didn't go through was because the Monica Lewinsky scandal hit the next day. And so that was off the table. So that's the kind of insidious shit that the problem is Democrats have been able to do unbelievable insidious shit because their enemies seem so horrible, just like Barack Obama, right? His enemy.
And I'll suggest, Jimmy, that another reason they've been able to do it is because a platform such as yours, a show such as yours and others has not existed on the media landscape, so that, they're all obviously in bed with one another, and people that are making a comfortable living, not questioning the Democratic Party or in effect doing their bidding, serving as a kind of a PR firm for them in a lot of respects. So absent any real criticism, these things have gone on forever, and people have their blue pom-poms and their red, and every 4 years they come out. So my question isn't now, although everybody is exhausted and exasperated from politics, certainly from elections, isn't right now, today, the election was just a month ago, isn't right now the time to start building that third party? Right. Yes. It can't happen like in 2024, 2023. Like, will there ever be a real option for a third party?
So right now we are Nick Brana, who was worked on Bernie's first 2016 campaign, has started a thing called the People's Party, and it's a movement for a People's Party, peoplesparty.org. And we had a convention, we had a virtual convention. Lots of people were involved in it. People like Cornel West and Nina Turner and Marianne Williamson. And I'm going to miss Danny Glover, and I'm leaving out, but there's lots of people. I was involved with it. And so there was a whole big, it was a big, very successful event. And people realized that, the majority of the country wants a third party. All right. The biggest party, the biggest voting block is people who don't fucking vote.
Right.
Right. The second part of the block is independents. Right. Then the two people the two parties split up 50%. Right. There's like 26% registered Democrats, roughly 26% registered Republicans. So the independents, much bigger voting block than both of those parties, right, individually. Mm-hmm. So people want a third party. So that's what we're doing. And right now they've just filed in Maine to get on the ballot in Maine. And so they're making a push. And what I say is that, if we could get a third party to poll at 10 or 15%, which we could do, then you'd have to have a coalition government. The Democrats couldn't just give the finger to us like they did all the time. Like in 2016, instead of Hillary putting Bernie Sanders as the vice president, she went to the right and got Tim Kaine, an anti-choice, anti-fucking worker, fucking pro-war motherfucker as her. I mean, worse than her. She got unbelievable. Like, she didn't reach out to us. They keep reaching out for Republicans. If you looked at the Democratic convention this year, It was filled with architects of the fucking Iraq war. So that's right. That's what the Democratic Party is. So I'm not attacking the Democratic Party from the right, I'm attacking it from the left, because they became a right-wing fucking Wall Street, pro-war, military-industrial complex party. 9 out of 10 Democrats want Medicare for all. Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats control the House. She won't even bring it up for a fucking vote. Why is that? Because your government doesn't work for you. The Democrats don't fucking represent you. This is an oligarchy. We are not in a democracy. And the idea that Trump took it is a fucking joke. It was taken a long time ago. If you look, I'll refer back to the Princeton study, which proved we live in an oligarchy, that if you are not in the upper 20% of income earners, your opinion does not ever have a reflection with policy or laws. If you're in the upper 10% of earners, and let's say 10% of them want something, well, 10% of the time that law will get passed. If 50% of the top 10% of earners want something, 50% of the time it will get passed. The bottom 80% doesn't fucking matter at all. And so that's why we live in the middle of a pandemic. They won't even give you fucking health care. They won't even give you, that is not normal. And that is not okay. And that is the Democratic fucking party. That is the party we need to get rid of. They lost to Trump, and this time they ran a fucking walking demented death rattle, and they made you fucking vote for it. And he's promising to ramp up the war budget, and while denying you health care. And I'm the fucking problem, Ted.
Well said, Jimmy. Well said. No, it is infuriating. And I remember.
I should not make that fucking critique. I should bite my tongue because it might help the Republicans. Fuck off.
Yeah, no, and quite honestly, Jimmy, what I love is that you have ramped up critiques of the sacred cows, whether it be Bernie or, and depending on the person's politics, different people view different people or different institutions as sacred cows. Some view talking about the Democrats at all as problematic. Like we know we've just got to unify, we've just got to blah, blah, blah. But you've gone after even the progressive, you've gone after Bernie, you've gone after the squad. And by gone after, let me be clear, you just critiqued with honest critiques. So has that been eye-opening for you to see, like, even, just stating the truth about, as you're saying, options, hold Pelosi to account, get these things to a vote, people push back?
America is a goddamn failed state. We got fucking thousands of people in food lines in the richest country in the fucking world. We got people don't have goddamn health care. There's 19 million people about to get evicted from their fucking house. This is in the richest country. People are living under every bridge in Los Angeles. When are they going to fucking do something about when people start living on top of bridges? What the fuck is going on? And again, the problem isn't that we don't have enough criticism of our elected officials. The problem is we don't have whatever the fuck I just said was wrong. We don't have enough criticism. That's the problem. Not that we have too much or
there's
that
none.
Fucking,
yeah.
There is none.
No, not on the landscape of obviously corporate owned media. All of the critiques are kind of shuttled to the outposts of the internet, and even that has been squashed in various forms over the last 5-10 years.
Yes, well, there's certainly there's certainly algorithm problems, and the problem is, Ted, the left is cool with censorship. And that's unbelievable. I never thought I would see McCarthyism come back in my life. It came back in my life from the left. I never thought I would see censorship come back in my life. It's coming back from the left. It's fucking nuts. And I can't believe that a jagoff comedian pothead is, first of all, it's so much easier to outdo them. Getting back to your original my original point about how it's not hard to outdo MSNBC and CNN when it comes to reporting on Syria or Libya or Afghanistan or Venezuela or Medicare for all, which Jake Tapper still tells you that the current system that we have costs less than Medicare for all. That's their number one anchor, who is gaslighting, telling a falsehood. That should be flagged if he says that on Twitter. If Trump did, they would, but they won't do it because it's CNN. CNN is not your friend. CNN, I get invited on Fox News to go because I have an anti-war statement that they'll let me tell people. And right. I know the president watches that show, so I go on Tucker Carlson to make critiques and urge the president to withdraw troops and to follow through with his promise that this isn't a left-right issue. This left and right and in the center want these fucking wars over. This is because of the corporate capture of our government. And so I'll go on. Guess who they won't invite someone on to say that? CNN, MSNBC, ever will invite.
Right.
I'm a leading progressive YouTuber. I'll never be invited on fucking MSNBC, ever. I'll never be invited on CNN ever, because I'm going to tell you the fucking truth about Bernie Sanders. I'm going to tell you the truth about Joe Biden. I'm going to tell you the truth about them. I'm going to tell you the truth about the war machine and where they get their goddamn funding from. And Ted Koppel took down that guy, Brian Stelter. I played it on my show. When Donald Trump, he was like a year into his administration, and they were having a symposium at like some fucking Columbia School of Journalism, and there's an audience. And Brian Stelter, who's the media critic on CNN, was on with Ted Koppel, and Ted Koppel says, "Oh my God, you guys love Donald Trump." He says, "I don't know what you're talking about." He said, "What were your ratings before Donald Trump, and what are your ratings after Donald Trump?" And Brian Stelter said, he goes, "Ratings don't matter at CNN." And the whole room laughed at him. And the whole room laughed at him. And that's the guy who's the media critic at fucking CNN. Of course, that's the media critic. Of course, that's the guy. You see broadcast news? That's who they fucking hire.
Sure.
You know, I got invited to this symposium of journalists because one of the bookers was a you know, I don't know, real son of a bitch and liked me, right? And really wanted me to come in and stir shit up. And so I was on a panel with people, and I was making the same case that, you know, of course, you're not going to hear why my show is popular because you're not going to hear the truth about Venezuela. You're not going to hear the truth about Syria, the war machine, what's really happening. And he goes, Jimmy, I don't know if you've ever been, this guy who was from NBC News, I don't know if you've ever been into how many editorial meetings you've ever been. Well, we don't think like that. We don't all talk like that. You know, we all have our different opinions and blah, 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 blah. And we don't take orders from anybody. I go, isn't it amazing that you all have your different opinions, except every time you're all pro-war? Isn't that something? How do you all come down with the same narrative? You're always pro-war for every war, and you're always wrong. WMDs was printed in the Washington Post, New York Times, and every goddamn newspaper across the country, except I knew it was false at the time. I just like I knew Libya was false, and right now I know Syria is
thousands
false.
and thousands of people marching in the streets
That's
across
right.
the country knew that it was false, and that it was.
I said, you know, what you don't know is that you've been groomed to be in that editorial meeting since you were in fucking kindergarten, because the people who color outside the lines don't get in those editorial meetings. They end up in fucking nightclubs like me, and they end up that. You understand?
Yeah. And I want to bring that up because when you and I first met, we did a gig at the Borgata in Atlantic City. And as you talked about, like when you meet comedians, you know, there's a mutual respect. We're all kind of doing the same thing. But then there's a different level. Like when I think you and I first saw that, oh, this guy's into progressive politics. And this was obviously before you were even doing your show, but you were talking about it on stage, which was rare, right? Like when you see another comedian who's like kind of talking about these things and bringing them to the stage in a progressive way. So has the transition for you been a seamless one, or as far as like going from doing that to then doing the show, or did you find like this was like a real home for kind of melding your comedic skills, your political interests, your politics, and did you kind of leave some of, you know, the comedy community in the rearview mirror as a result? Because I know that, you know, you make certain choices, right? And I know that I've been in the same position.
You've made choices.
Yeah. So has that, you know, have you looked back, or is it like, you know, the hell with this? This is the right decision, the right path.
Yeah, no, I'm constantly questioning. I'm second guessing and doubting myself constantly, all the time. Honest to God. I mean, I know I tell people in my live show, I'm not half as cool as I present. I'm full of, you know, neuroses and self-doubt, and I'm nervous in situations, and you know, that you wouldn't think I would be, and you know, and so, but as far as this goes, I got really disappointed with the comedy community. Like I'm disappointed with all the late night hosts, and just why the Daily Show's unwatchable, and Colbert is.
I loved what you did about Colbert getting choked up because of Trump, right?
Saying
like,
something that's stupid that nobody gave a shit about.
Yeah, it was so. I mean, like, that's really. That really kind of galls me. How, I mean, we always knew it to be true, and right, and Jimmy Fallon took the brunt of it for tussling Trump's hair, right? That was kind of the embodiment of that type of thing. But like, all these other guys do it too.
No, that's what I'm saying. Why are you picking on Jimmy fucking Fallon? That's the guy who's supposed to hold people's feet to the fire. Are you kidding me? They hired Ronald McDonald, for fuck's sake. He's not. That's the guy.
Right.
He's the nicest guy. His whole neurosis is I gotta be fucking liked by. I mean, anyway. The guy who has a track record of doing that kind of stuff is Stephen Colbert, and he just won't do it.
Right. Yeah, like you said, hosting the White House Correspondents' Dinner, where he very skillfully went after Bush right in front of him, and that kind of built his brand. And the journalists.
Right now, he's on board with journalists. He's not upset. I mean, he's doing right-wing propaganda. He's doing pro-war, pro-oligarchy establishment propaganda. I mean, there's just no, I remember when he had Tulsi Gabbard on, who's famous because she spoke up against the wars.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and then you saw how the establishment had to make her out to be a Russian, even though she's currently serving in the fucking military as an officer right now. Somehow she's a fucking Russian. Well, we better get an investigation going.
And
we
isn't
better
that
get
fascinating, Jimmy, how that's the one issue that really is never on the table, right? I mean, I do joke in one of my specials about talking about how it's always the next murderer in chief. We're always just electing the next murderer in chief. And that's really the position. That's the job. Endless murder, endless wars. Why is that? Why cannot, I guess you just alluded to it, but why would you say, despite the fact that the majority of the populace is against these never-ending wars, why can that never break through as a true kind of platform for a candidate?
Because in 1996, Bill Clinton deregulated the media, and it took us from 50 giant media corporations down to 5 now, I think. And so everybody's always looking for their next job in media, and so they're never looking to tell the truth, and there's a herd mentality.
Right.
And I mean, look what they do to Glenn Greenwald for telling the fucking truth. It's unbelievable, right? They're making him out to be, look how they'll let Julian Assange just fucking blow in the wind. I mean, that guy's a hero. That guy, they're allowing journalism to be prosecuted. They allowed it to happen to Chelsea Manning. Barack Obama tortured Chelsea Manning.
Right.
And so they could try to get Julian Assange. They tried to get Chelsea Manning to say shit that wasn't true. That's why you torture someone. You don't torture someone to get accurate information. You torture someone to get them to say shit that isn't true, which is why George Bush tortured that one guy 183 times, because he wanted him to say they were working with fucking Saddam Hussein, and he wouldn't fucking say. Anyway, so that, again, I lost my train of thought. I get so worked up in this shit.
That's okay.
But
There's a lot of trains running.
Oh, because of the Telecommunications Act of 1996. And Bill Clinton did that. And he said, no, it'd be okay because it'll be the internet. Well, you see who runs the fucking internet? Google. So 70% of the country gets all their information, all their news from Google and Facebook. That's it. So
yeah,
isn't
it fascinating? You could argue in a certain sense that then also paved the way for one of these, all powerful media conglomerates to essentially prop up their own candidates, right?
That's exactly right.
Roger Ailes kind of groomed Trump.
Yeah. They rank the news. They rank the searches. They started deranking lefty news sites. As soon as they started censoring right-wingers, I said this is going to come back to the left is harder than, and of course, and they're doing it under, we got to fight Russian disinformation. And so I go, of course. And who are they throttling? They throttled Chris Hedges. They throttled Truth Dig. They throttled, the war, my fucking site. They throttled every lefty news site.
Yeah. I can't help but think being involved in Occupy Wall Street and getting arrested didn't do my career any favors too. And then Black Lives Matter and all the things that you and I have both been involved in it, and Lee Camp and other, it's funny, like the group of comedians that have been, and I'm not putting myself in you guys' class as far as like the shows that you've been doing, but I'm just talking about the political involvement. And when you are on the left, the business kind of, there is I don't know if it's too strong to call it a McCarthyism, but there's definitely a suppression of left voices, even in comedy.
Oh, no doubt. Are you fucking kidding? Of course there is. Oh, shit. Oh, my God. But I remember in stand-up comedy, I mean, people would always, people like to try to, if people don't like you, they try to find, legit reasons why, when it's really they're just jealous and shit. And people would say to me, but your act doesn't work in the South. I work the South all the time. I work fucking Dallas. I work Houston twice a year. I work fucking Nashville. I work Tulsa. I work fucking Florida. Where the fuck don't I work? I work. What the fuck are you talking about? And you know why? I get asked back? Because when I show up, I'm not reading them a fucking speech. I'm doing a comedy act and everyone laughs. And the fucking goal of a comedian is to get people to laugh at themselves. That's what I do. Right. And if I can get inside, and the way I did it is I used to pretend to be them. Yeah. I used to go down there and pretend I liked fucking George Bush. I used to say, George Bush, I like him. He's just like my father. I got a soft spot for George Bush. Reminds me of my dad, because my dad's also a fucking warmongering idiot.
Right. Who can't fall in love with that?
Come on.
Now, let me ask you this, pal. I noticed in a couple of recent episodes, and my wife and I both perked up. We're hardcore Jimmy
Oh,
Dore
I feel
and
here comes some criticism.
not at all.
Oh.
Au contraire, my friend.
Oh, okay.
We're hardcore Jimmy Dore and miserable liberal Steph Zambrano fans. But you delved into spirituality and you talked
Oh.
about like kind of your journey and the way that you kind of because obviously behind all the anger and behind all the righteous indignation, I think always springs from a loving place and a passionate place. So you kind of delved into, I would say, somewhat uncharacteristically, some of your spiritual journey. So what was the impetus for that? How did that come about? Because we both, found that really fascinating and beautiful to hear.
So I thought I had my life all planned out. I mean, I was always I was the youngest in my family. I had
Youngest of how many?
12 siblings.
Wow.
I have, we had 10 kids, and then my mom adopted 2 more, and one was a little sister. So that was great. It was great to have a little sister. I love that. And I had one older brother, which I didn't need another older brother. I'll be honest. And I didn't need someone else around to beat the shit out of me. And so I didn't want to make the mistakes I saw people making and kind of the patterns in your family. And I didn't want to make those same kind of mistakes, right? I don't want to be unconscious. I didn't want to. And so I started reading a lot of self-help books as a young man, and I read The Road Less Traveled, read M. Scott Peck, and all kinds of stuff like that. And then I started to get into, Wayne Dyer was good. He was very easy to get into that kind of thinking. And and I don't know, I kind of let it go for a little bit, but then I got back into it with Ram Dass. I don't know if people know who that is.
Sure.
He wrote a book called Be Here Now. And I loved Ram Dass because I didn't read the book. I listened to it. He it was him. And he's just a masterful story. He could be a stand-up comedian, or he died, but he could have been. I loved, because he reminded me of like a guy like me, a guy with a lot of problems. And but here I do know this, right? It's like I remember he gave one of my favorite talks he ever gave was he said, he goes, okay, what I'm going to tell you tonight is not my opinion. This is how it is. And I was just like, oh, I fucking love this guy.
Yeah.
And this is how it is. I've been there. I'm coming back to tell you. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's why I was at. And then Eckhart Tolle, this guy, he wrote The Power of Now. And I read that book. And he was another one of these guys. He had a spontaneous awakening. Right. So he's one of these guys. He tells the story. The crux of his spirituality was he was riddled with anxiety. He'd wake up in the middle of the night with panic attacks. And I had an anxiety disorder in 1999, right? So I know what that was like, and I know what it's like to wake up with a panic attack. It's fucking anyway. And so he woke up in the middle of the night, and he said to himself, "I can't live with myself anymore." And that thought created space around his anxiety. The thought of, well, he said, well, who am I, and who is myself? Who am I that I can't live with myself? And he said that created enough space. And he went to sleep. And when he woke up in the morning, he could see the teapot vibrating. So that means he quieted his left brain and his thoughts. And now he was functioning more with his right brains. Because if you hear people, this woman does a TED talk about having a stroke where her left brain got shut off, and she was a brain scientist.
Right.
And she was talking about how she couldn't tell where her body stopped and the universe started, right? She was one, because we are all one. We're all one energy. And it's our left side of the brain and our ego, which makes us seem separate. We're not separate. We're all like, hairs on the head of a body. They're not separate from the fucking body or from the other hairs. They're all part of the same organism. And that's what we really are. But we have an ego, and that's what makes us think we're separate, which causes most of the problems.
Yeah, I went to see Eckhart Tolle at Riverside Church in Harlem with another comedian, Andy Pitts. He invited me because he had actually kind of given me his book, probably a decade ago or so. And I read The Power of Now, and I was kind of going through like a mild depression at the time. And that kind of helped me to come out of it too. Went to see Eckhart Tolle, and his presence too is so serene, right? And his voice, it's so specific and tranquil. But yeah, so all of these things, and I find it curious because I do think, ultimately, really your show, and I've talked about this in the past with regard to criticizing, whether it's in politics or criticizing fellow comedians or any type of criticism, comes from a place of love, like you said, when you have that worldview that we are all one and we are all hairs on the same head. Would you say that what animates you is like a love of humanity? That's the kind of the heartbeat of why you're yelling about these things?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I couldn't find the energy to do the show. I mean, it comes from somewhere else.
Yeah.
It comes from, I mean, there's the, so when you hit this stage of life, right? So I'm 55, that, the first part of your life is spent going outward, and then if it works out right, you're supposed to go inward, right? And as Carl Jung says, those who look outward dream, those who go inward awake. And so I've been trying to do that. I've been trying to go inward. I've been trying to make the unconscious conscious, right? There's another thing Carl Jung says is if you don't make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So that's like negative thought patterns that you aren't really aware of. That's all. And so you have a shadow side.
Mhm.
So anything that really, so like the people who are like, I don't get triggered by Trump as much as other people. I despise him and I'm disgusted, right? Whatever.
Same,
But
yeah.
he doesn't trigger me. What triggers me is all the shit that gave us Donald Trump and the stuff now, and they're putting warmongering corporatists and Joe Biden's demented cabinet, and that's supposed to be the antidote. Trump didn't even start war. They're going to start more fucking wars.
Right.
They're in a lot of ways worse. So this idea, and that's what, and he's going to deny us health care. And so where are we going to get in 4 years? We're going to get a worse Trump.
Right. Well, yeah, hopefully, like you said, there will be some traction for a third party, for the People's Party, for, whatever it winds up being. There has to be, because it can't continue this way. Before we change gears, though, I also wanted to touch on, we spoke briefly, and she graced the screen in the beginning. Steph Zambrano, I want to talk, if you would, if I'm not overstepping bounds, talk about your partnership with Steph, and you guys have this great partnership on the show, and this machine that you've created, the Jimmy Dore Show, that so many people turn to now as a lifeblood of progressive thought and critique of the Democratic Party, but it's obviously it's a partnership, both in terms of the show and in terms of your life. What has that meant for you in both of those spheres?
Working with your wife's a big mistake. I don't recommend it. So anybody thinking of doing it, I think I should do it. I should have did like you, keep making her, have her make babies. Right.
Well, she executive produces this show, so she's doing both, and it could be a mistake. We'll find out. But so far, so good.
No, I mean, I'm lucky to have somebody who's simpatico with me politically and who's also comes from a comedic background, and so she's often does makes me laugh and is which when I need it, and she handles all the. I'm so bad at business, man. I can't. And I don't know how to do money. It's so funny, but she does all that. And I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't have insurance, or I wouldn't know, it's just, if I get my license renewed, I fucking come on, how about a little kudos? I got some fucking business taken care of over here.
A true comedian.
Yeah. 25 years as a stand-up comedian doesn't prepare you for much in life, right? You're like laying around all day waiting to go do comedy.
Just
like
getting to the next gig is a triumph, right?
Yes.
Showing up on time. Yeah.
I mean, I had discipline comedically, but it was like the rest of my life. It was like my biggest decision was who am I going to have lunch with? Yeah. It's like I got to have lunch, then I got to work out, and then I got to get a nap, and then I got to, and meanwhile, and so meanwhile, then I come home, my power's off, like, oh fuck, I got to pay that. And then I'd be the guy down at the thing. I remember I used to always be down at the thing. Like, you forgot the pay. I didn't pay either. I was always that guy. My phone bill, the electric. I was always at I have to go down to the office and pay.
Yes.
I was just bad. I didn't pay my taxes for 10 years. Shit like that, and I had to get that straightened out.
Yeah.
And, just like, I was a comedian. I had discipline comedically. And, you know, that's the thing. I come from a real blue collar background, right? I was a young 12 kids in my family, Catholic. My dad was a cop. And, you know, I talk, I talk about how, they used to, you go to Catholic school. They used to beat the shit out of you at school. We come home. My parents would beat us out at home. Then we go to the park. We beat other people. And, I don't know if you know, but poor people beat the fucking shit out of each other. Right.
Yeah.
And anger is, I thought my dad was the cool headed one because our next door neighbor was an alcoholic Marine and he was screaming fucking 24 hours a day. So I thought we had a good turnout. You know, my dad also was a bit of a rager. And, but I was always very, like, I remember when I got into comedy and when I went away to college, people, like I learned you had to squelch that. Like people were like, they got a friend. I'm like, they're like, oh, you're angry. I'm like, no, this is how everyone acts in my neighborhood. I don't know where the fuck you guys are from.
What's wrong with you guys? Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody's showing any emotion.
What? No shit. Right. Like, what the, you guys ever watch the thing that drives me nuts is that when I get upset about, Medicare for all or the progressive politicians selling you out during the CARES Act and then pretending they got you something. When I get upset about people not getting health care or being evicted or food lines or homeless people and the corruption in our government, people are like, boy, that Jimmy Dore really gets fucking worked up. But I don't know if a guy is doing a cartwheel and screaming at the top of his head because the fucking Red Sox, because Bill Buckner just let a fucking ground ball go through his leg. They're like, oh, what's wrong with that guy? Oh, he's a Sox fan. Oh, I get it. Like nobody. Why? What? Hey, why are you so angry, Jimmy? Oh, sorry. I should save my anger for things that matter. Like Hollywood award shows and sporting events.
Yeah. Well, as a Mets fan, you did just touch on one of the high points of my life. So I was doing a cartwheel for other reasons, but no, it's true. It's true.
And I had to, by the way, I had to squelch. So when I got in comedy, I was nice on stage. I saw Bill Hicks and I was like, holy fuck, you can do that? I didn't know you could do that.
Right.
And so I tried it and it didn't work. And it didn't work. And I remember my girlfriend said, it's because you don't look like where you come from. Because I always tried to dress nice. I didn't, I wore hand-me-downs when I was in college. So when I finally got money, I tried to dress. I always tried to dress impeccably and things like that on stage anyway.
Isn't it funny how you go as comedians, you go through those phases of figuring out like what you wear?
Yes. And so I would come on stage with a suit coat and fucking trying to look really. And I remember my girlfriend said, she goes, you look like you come from privilege. You can't go up and be angry. She goes, and you got you have all your hair and you look like you look and you got great clothes. You can't fucking do that. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what's wrong. Okay. So then I tried to find a way to get my political points across or whatever point it was in a nicer way. And I would try to act dumb. And I'd often do that thing where you pretend to agree with the thing you're lampooning. And so I learned different techniques out of it. I think it helped a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, if you go back and look at my award-winning Comedy Central special, Citizen Jimmy from 2008, chosen Best of the Year by iTunes and Punchline Magazine. And the reason why I say that is because if I don't fucking nobody will, Ted. Anyway, so if you go back and you watch that special or my first half-hour special, I'm very nice. You would never know I have this inner rage, right? I'm very, hey, how you doing?
Right.
And but then when I started working for the Young Turks and there's this guy, Cenk Uygur, and he just would let it rip. And I remember sitting there, I'm like, you can just fucking do that? Like I was just like, holy shit. So that I tried it and it worked.
Yeah.
And people responded to it. And I'm like, so I can just fucking say what I want. And if I do it in an entertaining way, it's okay. And so, yes. And it took I owe a lot to Cenk Uygur in that regard. I owe a lot to Cenk Uygur. I learned a lot just sitting next to him. And so I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if that didn't happen. So I really feel a debt to him on that regard. And so, I mean, it's like he allowed me to become who I am. I mean,
that's funny.
Kind of,
right? Yeah, something that winds up ending in the sense that you outgrew it or you had your differences, but you still have this abiding appreciation that it really taught you how to find your voice in this arena.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, but he set the template for how to do how to work the algorithm on YouTube as a news show, and so when I started mine, I just followed his template, and it worked like a charm, and they've changed those algorithms now, so it's much, much, much harder. And my growth is to a trickle now. I've got close to 1 million viewers, subscribers, and they just clamp that shit down.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what they do is they unsubscribe people from your channel, right? And they do it under the guise of saying that, oh, we're getting rid of dormant accounts. And it's like, no, my executive producer was unsubscribed from our show. Come on, that's not a fucking dormant account.
Wow. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so anyway, so that was the kind of, when I remember I got asked, and when they opened the UCB theater in Los Angeles in 2006, I think it was, they asked me if I would do a show, right? Because I knew those guys from Chicago. That's where they came from,
Mm-hmm.
Matt and all. And so, and I of course said yes, because if you say no, you're a pussy. And so, but I was scared. I was like, oh my, just me on stage, and I can't, I'm not going to do stand. I have to do a show, like what the fuck? It was totally stretching for me, but I said yes.
Like one man show type of thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, I could do whatever I wanted. They like, you want to do a show? And I'm like, yeah. Well, I can't just go do stand up. That would be, I'm doing that every fucking where,
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, all right, I have to come up with some kind of a theatrical show. And that's when I that's when I started working with video. And man, it takes, Jon Stewart made it look easy. There's a lot to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a big learning curve for me. And then I put together an act with the video that toured the improvs in the country. And I got really, then that's where I honed that skill. And now I do live shows, and it's amazing. It's a dream come true.
Was the video that you were doing at UCB and starting out in the improvs, was that also news related, critiquing the news? Yeah, that was.
It was new. It was me, because I had a bad back at the time, and I couldn't get off the couch for a couple of years. I was in bad shape, and so I was watching that during the so I could I could get up and go do a show, but I couldn't really do much. And so I was watching the news, and I just couldn't believe. So I had all these clips,
right.
And I just wanted to show up. Like, I just wanted other people. You want to feel. That's why comedy shows, you need other people in a crowd. It's like, you want to experience this together. Can you fucking believe this? Like, yes. I would just play. That's how it started. Yeah. And then I had to realize how to make it funny, how to hit a punchline, how to make a video be the punchline sometimes, and how to set it up. And it's just like stand up. You learn how to set it up, how to get in and out, how to call back. And it's fun. I love doing the live. Well, you were a guest on the live show in Brooklyn. You were great on that show.
I had a blast. And so I wanted to ask you, with the People Party and your involvement with that, would one be making a leap to say, why not Jimmy Dore running for office in some capacity, or is this your lane and you're happy to be in it?
Fucking kid, do you see what they do to people?
Just ask. I have to do my duty. And
you see what? So Cenk Uygur ran for the Congress in the 25th in the primary. Right. Did you see the shit they did to him? Do you know what they would do to me? Right. Are you fucking kidding? Oh, they made him look like he was a pedophile, Nazi. I mean, they made him look horrible, unbelievable what they did to him. Right. And it's funny because he was coming into my a studio for an interview because he was running for office, and he reached out to me and said, "Can I come on your show?" I said, "Sure." And I was gonna like, not stick it to him, but I was gonna hold his feet to the fire on some shit that I wanted to hold his feet to the fire on.
Yeah.
And then they came at him so hard. When he came in my thing, I was like, I can't help but be sympathetic. So I did give him a very, very friendly interview, and I tried to prop him up because it was like, I just, when someone's attacked, when he was being attacked by the establishment.
Sure.
And I was just like, holy shit. Yeah. I mean, they came at him.
Right. Yeah. So that's a no. That's a no for you as far as considering any type of run for yourself. Not interested, or just wouldn't want to go through that. Or both.
I think I could do better work outside of politics.
Yeah.
I just like the being able to speak uncensored, to tell the truth. I don't want to be compromised. I mean, just getting to know politicians compromises you.
Yeah.
It's good to keep people at arm's distance. It's good to it's. You have to keep reminding yourself they're not your friends, And so, if I became a politician, it would just, I think this is my role. I'd rather be the guy outside throwing rocks, and
Yeah.
or presenting viable alternatives, which is that's one criticism of my show, which a lot of comedians I've heard repeat to me. They go, well, yeah, but Jimmy, you don't have any solutions. Well, first of all, I do. One of them is I've been trying to start a new party. The second one is that I'm for ranked choice voting, and number three, I'm for direct action. There's a strike page at my website, and I've had union leaders on and activists and all the time, and trying to get people to do direct action, and I've been trying to rally the troops,
And like you
so
said earlier, pressuring people to go after their elected officials and hold them to account. I mean, that's something that's really not done on a regular basis because for whatever reason, if people are exhausted or just
right.
not interested, it does require a certain amount of engagement in an ongoing manner.
So I'm trying to get people to, it was like when I started the show, I would defend Bernie Sanders and I would defend progressive politicians. And now what I find out is what I really need to do is pressure them when they need it, because that's what I defend them when they need defending.
Right.
But more often they actually need pushing. They need pressuring. And I try to remind my YouTube progressive news community is that's where your influence is. If you have any leverage, it's with those people that you defend. So now you need to spend some time pressuring them, because this can really happen. We can really get this Medicare for all vote. And people will say, well, it wouldn't pass the Senate. This is an important marker. You know this, Ted. This is very important to get a vote, a debate on the floor of the House of Representatives for something that is overwhelmingly popular and is a game changer. Do you know there was a strike in India on November 27th, 250 million people, the largest strike in the history of humankind? Was it reported on MSNBC and CNN and the New York Times and the Washington Post? No. Hey, did you, so this is, and in France right now, did you know they're out in the streets right now in France because France just passed a law that you can't film cops?
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah. So they didn't get reported.
We're probably not far behind here with that either, I would say.
That's weird that they didn't get reported here. It's not weird they're not reporting that shit. So this is who we need to influence, the people we can influence. We need to influence the politicians that actually that we line up with ideologically, because I don't have any influence over Mitch McConnell.
Well, pal, like I said, nobody's doing it better. And I think you're in your prime and you're just getting better all the time, both you and Steph. So thank you for making the time to come on the show and to not only rant and rave about all these things that are so important, but to give us a little bit of your story and all of the things that, kind of made you who you are.
Well, I've been a big fan of the Tom Segura show for a long time, and I've wanted to get on. And this is just great. This is fantastic. And
I'm sorry Christina couldn't be here today, but that's all I get. There's not that many bald, bearded, swarthy comedians. So yeah, I get.
I didn't notice I think you might have posted something or something, and people were like, they were making that joke. I'm like, I'm the last guy to notice you look like him. Why am I the last guy to notice?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that's a distinction that I do appreciate.
Okay.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on. Congrats on the baby.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Okay.
Talk to you soon, buddy. Take care.
Bye.
Jimmy Dore, everybody. The man, the legend. Doing great work. He is, he's in there in the trenches doing doing the hard work and critiquing all of the people who need critiquing, and he's going after, like I said, the left, going after so-called progressives. And yeah, just a great show that, it's, as far as I'm concerned, must watch. The Jimmy Dore Show. Both he and Steph doing great stuff every day. So thank you, Jimmy Dore. Well, friends, before I wrap, I want to wish a very happy birthday to someone special. The aforementioned executive producer extraordinaire, Madeline Geraldine. That's right. My wife's birthday is today, and this is kind of a hybrid segment of wishing her a happy birthday and also grading my marriage. Because in the past, I'll admit, I have not risen to the occasion of special occasions and haven't come through and hit the ball out of the park as any partner, as any husband should. You know, for whatever reason, my brain, I would have like a block, and you know, like I think it's because I don't ask for much, people. I don't ask for much. Patreon.com/Ted Alexandro. I don't ask for much. So maybe that kind of carried over. But like foolishly, I let a few occasions go by, important occasions, where I did not sufficiently celebrate my wife. But today, friends, all that changed. I had an epiphany. I realized that I needed to let my wife know that I love her with demonstrations that would show that, tangible gifts. So, and not only that, but I went all out, folks. A playlist accumulated from closest friends and family, several gifts, an vegan eggplant parm dinner may be coming up a little later in the evening, made by yours truly. So the point is this, folks. In the past, I have failed. But the mark of any great person showing growth is to admit that and to move forward. And I have done that. And I think I have hit it out of the park. And this isn't about me. I'm not making my wife's birthday about me, am I? All I want to do is say, Madeline Geraldine, I love you so much. I celebrate you every day. And isn't that enough? No, of course not. It's not. On these special days, this day of your birth, where we had Jimmy Dore, one of our favorites, there's another gift. If we're keeping track, I'm not. But happy birthday to the love of my life, my partner, my executive producer extraordinaire, the mother of our little boy who will turn 1 on Christmas Day, and another spirit, another being coming forth sometime in April. So these are exciting times for us, and certainly I love you more and more every day. So thank you for all that you do for me, all that you bring to our lives. It is all beautiful indeed. Happy birthday. Well, my friends, that is our show, and a special one it has been. Thank you again to my friend Jimmy Dore for making the time to come on and chat with us. And again, if you have not, please hit that subscribe button, ring the notifications bell, like the video, comment. All of those things help the algorithm that Jimmy had talked about is stifled to keep the likes of us on the outside looking in. But your comments, your likes, your subscriptions, all of these things help push us up so that we might bubble to the surface. And of course, support the show at patreon.com/Ted Alexandro. As always, we thank our producer extraordinaire. He's the man with the plan. He is Matthew L. Weiss.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Matthew. We thank the man who provides all the music, the maestro. He is Pro DLC. Check out his music everywhere you stream music. And once again, happy birthday to our executive producer extraordinaire, my beautiful wife, the love of my life, Madeline Geraldine. I love you so much. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Until next time, be well. We will see you on the flip side.